This looks at the difference between social media and traditional media. And this is a really core part of your assignment, because when it talks about in criteria 3 about recommending a strategy, this is the strategy that I'm looking for you guys to recommend one way or another. Right? Choose between two management approaches and go from there. So very much a core of the assignment. I expect this is going to be an area where you do some extra research, but I'll give you the basic idea. Traditional marketing approaches, you're talking about billboards, newspapers, magazines, radio and television. Maybe sponsorship as well. And they tend to be these style of things that reach a mass market. So straight away you might think about, well, if I've been thinking about a niche product, and I've emphasised I think that there is some benefit in doing that, if I'm thinking about a niche market, then straight away I'm not sure that a traditional marketing approach is going to be all that great. Also tend to be a fair bit more expensive. You do some research on it, you're talking about a couple of $1,000s for a billboard every month in a high traffic area. Radio's not so much, but you might find some schedules as you look around. You get an idea that it does have a reasonable amount of cost associated with it. We contrast that to social media. Most of you would be familiar with Facebook, so you're looking at promoted posts, video content that's uploaded, and there's a cost with all of that. However, there's also a free element too, in terms of just putting together a page that has content on it and that people like and become part of effectively a database. And this is one of the big things I think that social media has got going for it, is that when you use social media, whether it's something as old and boring as an email list, you're building a database of customers. When Twyla likes my Facebook page, suddenly I have some details that mean I can contact her. And when I mean Twyla likes my Facebook page, I mean my business Facebook page, right? Let's say it's a pet grooming page. Twyla likes it, Lewis likes it. Suddenly there's a database. Now, that doesn't mean I can communicate with them for free, because Facebook will charge. They have a service where you can say, okay, I want to communicate with everyone who's liked my page. You've got to pay some money to get a post pushed out to all the people who've done that. But that's the idea of social media. Like, you are getting a database of customers. Yeah. Yeah, but when you post something, it doesn't automatically doesn't automatically appear in all your friends' feeds. It'll depend a little bit on how much activity. So there's an algorithm they use, how much activity, how much. Yeah, let's say if you're looking at something on Jamie's, it might be how many times you've liked stuff on Jamie's page and how many times you've liked stuff on yours as to whether it actually appears. It doesn't always appear. And that, from a commercial perspective, particularly people with big email lists, says, I don't know if anyone has come across the weather Facebook page, Higgins Storm Chasing. It's very, very big. They've got hundreds of thousands of people, but they have to pay $3,000 or $4,000 if they want a post to go to all of their subscribers. But of course, once the post goes out, and once people start to like it, that appears in other people's media feeds and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a little bit of that. So Facebook, you got Twitter, Instagram, Google, AdWords. So I don't know if you guys are aware when you go just for a search into Google. So let's say I want to find a cat groomer. They've got a few cat groomers there. No, nothing sponsored. I had one. Let's say I want to find an accountant. Same thing, nothing sponsored there. You can, Google have a service called AdWords. So here we go. Where you see a little ad, those people are effectively paying to Google to come top of the search on Google AdWords. Oh, is that not? Sorry, I haven't got rid of this. So there we go. It's ironic talking about social media when you're technology skills aren't great. So let's say I go to Google, I search on financial planner, or I could search on restaurant or any term. People can, through the Google AdWords program, they can pay to come at the top. So these are not Google's choices as the best options for you. These are paid results. Whereas the number one free result is here. And they might pay $1, $2, $3 every time someone clicks on that. So the good people at Commonwealth Bank just paid $3 to have me click onto their page there. So that's another. So that's another social media, and very similar to a lot of it, right? How people pay to have their content up here. So if we've gone through social media, and you are all more familiar with social media probably than I am, let's have a think about some of the pros of traditional media. So pro means good point. Traditional media is permanent. You put a sign up beside the road, it's nice and permanent. People can come back and check on it if they need to. You can tailor it to the target market. And it can be quite entertaining. I don't remember any really great ads, but yeah, you might have heard series of ads that, or remember series of ads that had a little story going for a while or a little bit of humour in them. But I would also argue that you can do that in Facebook, and possibly even more in Facebook. Social media, it's cheaper. That might be an important point. It's engaging, it's measurable. Right? You're getting data about who is visiting your page. There are more and more people, and you guys are in it, that don't engage a lot with traditional media. Don't watch a lot of TV because you download your shows on Netflix. Don't watch a newspaper because you can get news online. Don't listen to radio because you stream music. And so there's a lot of people that social media doesn't connect with. And that's something to really think about. That traditional media doesn't connect with that social media does. So have a think about that as to whether it's an important thing for yourselves. And you can have a lot more open communication and build brand loyalty. And you might have one or two businesses that you follow that do that really, really well. And that one, Higgins Storm Chasing, that I mentioned, they do a great job of that on their app. They're posting all the time. They take comments. They reply to people's comments. You might notice too, particularly in Facebook, there are some businesses that just do this terribly. I don't know why Telstra. Do not know why Telstra advertise on Facebook and allow open comments, because every time they put an ad on Facebook, it is, I can't believe you D-heads haven't done this, or, we've been 3 months here since we had a lodger thing. It's just criticism after criticism after criticism. It just doesn't work. But smaller businesses can engage with that much better. Right. So there are some of the things that are really good about both traditional and social media. The cons. Traditional media can be very hard to measure. It can be expensive. It's just one way, right? It's just people. We're hoping that when Rory reads my advertisement in the Courier Mail, he gets the right understanding from it. There's no way you can query it. There's nothing else. And it's generally a short-term campaign. Social media can be time-consuming because often you're having to post a lot of content to get people interested in what you're talking about. It can disseminate quickly, which can be a bad thing if something goes wrong, right? If you've got a negative story, if you make a mistake on social media, it can be really, really bad. And so, an example of that, Boston Marathon was run recently. I think Adidas, was it? Nike? Right, Nike had an advertisement that said, congratulations, all Boston Marathon competitors, you guys killed it today. Right. And of course, Boston Marathon had fatalities in that race not that long ago, and we've just been through the trial of the Boston Marathon bombers, and of course that becomes everywhere. Right. It wasn't their best work, but that's the problem. You lose control. It disseminates quickly. It can be easily lost for a while. And if you're going to put someone specially in charge of social media, it takes quite a while to build up a following. Social media might work when you've got 5,000 people who've liked your Facebook page, But in the early days, you won't get as much return on that. So you've got to think about how do you manage that. Okay. Here's something that you can use, or you may want to look a little bit further. Right, but where do consumers turn to for information? Word of mouth is very, very important. So the question is whether that comes better through social media or traditional. I would say that social media can really influence word of mouth because it reminds people of what's happening in the organisation. Radio is one source of information. Consumer opinions, websites are big in there. TV ads and billboards. But you've got to think about, do some research. How well does social media reach the target market you would like to look at? This will be on sector. Right, this will be on sector. We've only got one more slide to go. I can go back to that for those people who want. I've already talked to you guys. I think you increasingly, compared to myself, would use a whole lot. You'd be exposed to a whole lot less traditional advertising than I would. I was, because I watched TV and got the ads. I listened to the radio and got the commercials. I read the newspaper every day. I still read the newspaper every day. I read 3 newspapers most days. But all those things, that's the traditional, whereas I think you guys are very, very different in your approach to it. And how are we going to assess this? Okay. And this is basically the last slide here. You might use your economic thinking as a model to assess which one you should do. Right? What are the benefits of a decision? Okay. From a business point of view, you might think, what's going to affect my profit? What's going to be, is there a fairer way to go with the decision that I make? Around marketing, perhaps not so much around fairer, but certainly this one, how's it going to impact myself and the group, which is going to be easiest to do? What are the costs? Right. So the money cost is a big one. There's going to be a big money cost as you associate when you do, but there's also a time cost because social media is probably going to take you a lot more time. If you go one or the other in a big way, then you're giving up an alternative. I don't think the environment, probably not a big one. You might make arguments, for example, that newspaper advertising might have an environmental cost. Billboard advertising might have an environmental cost. But I'm not sure it's going to be, in this case, I'm not sure it's going to be a huge part compared to if you're assessing like a business project. So I think that's one way you can do it. I would certainly be saying a good decision-making table, and I'll give you some examples of that might be another way to make that decision.